Hey guys, I am Serena Watkins. I am a high school counselor, so I am here just to kind of help you guys with some of the stuff that pertains to counseling. So I am really just here for you. So, what I want to talk to you about in this first session is you. So, because we are at a C4 camp, a Christian camp, I definitely want to reference the scripture in what I'm going to discuss with you all. So, we're going to go to Matthew 22, and I'm going to read a couple verses to you, and then I'll explain, right? Okay, so Matthew 22, verse 36, it says, and it reads, Teacher, which is the most important commandment in the law of Moses? Jesus replies, You must love the Lord your God with all your heart, all your soul, and all your mind. That in itself is a lot, and you'll hear about that. But back to the scripture. This is the first and greatest commandment. A second is equally important. Love your neighbor as yourself. The entire law and all the demands of the prophets are based on these two commandments. So, what does that mean? So, we know in our entire being we are to love God. That's the normal. That's our just basic general what it is that we are supposed to do as Christians, right? But that second one is where I want to kind of park my hat. So it says, love your neighbor as yourself. Well, there's an underline into that because you can't love your neighbor if you don't know how to love yourself, right? So that's what I want to talk to you about. I want to talk to you about you. So, because we are at camp, I definitely want you to make sure you have a pen and paper. I'm going to go through a couple questions, and throughout my sessions, I'm going to make sure we unpack these questions. I am going to have Miss April send you a questionnaire so that you can fill it out and kind of get a little more detail on what it is that I'm going to go further in on my discussion. But for now, on this video, I want to go through these questions. So, question one. These are things I want you to answer yes or no, true or false, just kind of whichever mindset you think. I'm just going to read a statement and you tell me if this statement is true to who you are, period. Okay, and again, question one. So I try to be kind to myself every day. True or false? Do you try to be kind to yourself every day? Question two. I try to avoid self-critical thoughts about myself. I focus on things that I like about me. Is that true? True or false? I try to set aside time for myself every day. Sorry. Question three. I try to set aside time for myself every day. True or false? Question four. I do things to relax myself whenever I feel stressed or down. So when you're stressed or down, you do things to relax yourself. True or false? Question five. I keep myself grounded by being present in every moment. True or false? You keep yourself grounded by being present in every moment. Question six. I focus on things I can control and not to the things that are out of my hand. True or false? Question seven. The people I spend the most time with love and appreciate who I am. True or false? Question eight. I regularly participate in activities I enjoy. True or false? I regularly participate in activities I enjoy. Question nine. I focus on taking care of my physical health. Physical meaning body. Question nine again. I focus on taking care of my physical health. Question 10, and our final questions. Feel free, before I go through 10, to go back this is a recording, and re-listen to a question if I went too fast. But question 10. I try to focus on my strengths and to grow while knowing it is okay for weaknesses. I'll read that again. I try to focus on my strengths and grow while knowing it's okay for weaknesses. So, take the time. How many truths, how many falses did you have? So that, pause me if you need to, that will tell you how much you really focus on your personal care. It is also known as self-care. A lot of times in today's society, self-care is seen as a negative. So I'm going to give you a counselor definition, because I'm a counselor, and I'm going to give you a definition of a middle school student that I spoke with that I really enjoy the way she defined self-care. So, first thing first, let's do the professional one. So, professional says, self-care is an activity that we do deliberately in order to take care of our mental, emotional, and physical health. That was in that scripture, huh? Heart, soul, mind. That's all of that. But we'll get into that later. Although it is a simple concept in theory, back to the definition, it is something we often overlook. Good self-care is key to improving the mood and reducing anxiety, which is so common right now, right? There's so much going on in the world. It is also key to a good relationship with one's self. Back to our scripture. So, this is what I want us to discuss. I want us to discuss in our sessions with me our different self-cares. So at the end of this, I'm going to give you an assignment, and then the next video that I do, we're going to really dig into some different self-care things for you and why self-care is so important. I know I gave you a scripture background. I know I gave you a scripture backing, and I gave you a definition from a psychologist, but I want you to hear this one of this middle school student who is right in your generation, a recent conversation, and what she said she feels self-care is. So she said, self-care is knowing what we need to do to respect ourselves. So if you know what you need to do to respect yourself, then you learn how to practice great self-care habits for yourself, making everything else in life line up to what you need it to be. She then went on to say, another way of knowing self-care is knowing your limits and your boundaries and not letting anyone, including yourself, cross them. So if you know what boundaries or what limits that you have within your life, then you will be able to get to that point and know that you have to do something about it before it gets too bad that you can't function properly in society. So that's what we want to focus on. We want to focus on making sure that we understand what self-care is, that it's not a negative connotation. A lot of times in society, it's been deemed as making yourself seem like you are just so, I can't think of the word, but it's just, yeah, I just lost my train of thought, but it's okay. So right now it's negative because it makes you seem you're so self-consumed. That's the word I was looking for. And it's not a negative thing. You have to know yourself scripturally to be able to love someone else in that manner. We act out often our negatives about ourselves onto other people because we don't first learn to do what the scripture says and love ourselves. So that was in scripture and that was in the definition. You have to be able to love you to be able to love someone else, right? So this is what I want you to think about. I know I did some sillies in this video definitely go back and listen to it if you need to. I just really want you to think about those questions. I really want you to think about the definition. And then I want you to do what we call a quick write. So I'm going to leave you with the question. And I want you to take some time after this video and really write down a mini paragraph of your thoughts on this question. And then I want you to go back and think about those 10 questions that we went over. And then I'm going to have Miss April post a link to a worksheet, and I want you to fill out that worksheet. So for this week, I want you to think about that definition of self-care, and I'll read the middle school students' definition. Knowing what you need to do to respect yourself. What do you do already that makes you show that you respect yourself and you make other people respect you? And then I want you to think about what are your limits and what are your boundaries as well. But I want you to kind of encompass all of this in this question. So here is our thought, and I want you to quick write. So it says, what comes to mind when you think about investing in a better you? So if I said, hey person, sorry, there's a fly there. If I said, hey person, what do you need to do to make yourself a better version of who you are right now? What would you say? And I want you to do a quick write. So again, I am Serena Watkins, Miss Serena. I am here for your counselor thoughts. I will, of course, be here and available for questions, for sessions as we go through. In our next video, we're going to talk about why self-care is so important, tying it back to the scripture. Remember that scripture was Matthew 22, verses 36 through 40. If you need to go back and read them, I read them to you in the New Living Translation. I know a lot of people like to read other translations, which is fine, but I'm a New Living girl, so it's still the same meaning. This fly is not going anywhere. But I want you to think about those thoughts. So your quick write question is, what comes to mind when you think about investing in a better you? Okay? Thanks, guys. Have a great one. See you next time.